The author recounts a moment when they showed their editor friend an article generated by a large language model, which left her in shock and half-jokingly predicting her own unemployment. The article goes on to discuss the impact of AI-driven automation on higher-paid and creative jobs, which were once thought to be safe, and how this will disproportionately affect privileged demographics. The author highlights the different relationships blue-collar and white-collar workers have with work, and the potentially devastating emotional effects of being rendered useless by a bot, particularly for men. While economists believe the economy will still grow, it is clear that the AI revolution will be a bumpy ride. The latest online controversy involves conservative outrage over Budweiser's partnership with trans TikTok star Dylan Mulvaney, leading to boycotts and destruction of Bud Light. This trend of calling organizations woke for attempting inclusivity has emerged as a go-to method for conservatives to disparage such efforts. The rise of TikTok as a platform for public discourse has changed the nature of online debates, allowing for a more visual and interactive approach. However, what started as a conversation about beer and inclusivity has evolved into a business-focused discussion, prompting the author to question whether the marginalized community in question has been forgotten in the chaos. In a world where music streaming has taken over our ears, one journalist realized she was no longer listening to music, but rather sludge, a blend of indistinguishable songs that imitated her taste. Blaming algorithmically driven playlist culture, she decided to launch a one-woman rebellion against recommendations, and instead discovered artists she liked on smaller platforms like SoundCloud, and even splurged on a vinyl album. However, she soon realized that this is not the end of sludge, as AI-generated voices threaten to take over music streaming. Looking back at the launch of the Pirate Bay and iTunes Music Store 2 decades ago, she notes how iTunes' decision to sell songs as a standalone product contributed to the death of the album and the rise of disposable music that sludge embodies. Google has launched its own chatbot called Bard, capable of writing poems, giving travel advice, and even suggesting activities, among other tasks. Like ChatGPT, Bard is easy to use, and the more information you provide in your prompt, the more accurate its response will be. Bard is also capable of analyzing web articles and comparing documents, adding specifics to its output and rewriting existing text. It can even help with spreadsheet formulas and provide better Google search results. However, always double-check sources to avoid inaccuracies. So sign up at bard.google.com and let the conversation begin. The end of passwords as we know them may be in sight, but don't ditch all your memorized password phrases just yet. The FIDO Alliance, a secure authentication industry association, has been promoting passkeys as a password-less alternative for years. Although heavyweight tech companies like Microsoft, Google, and Apple have adopted the technology, many users still prefer to stick with good old-fashioned passwords. But according to Christiane Brand, co-chair of FIDO2, progress towards passkey adoption is gaining momentum. At the RSA Security Conference, Brand will discuss the challenges of getting users to switch, as well as the improvements FIDO has made to support passkey syncing and Bluetooth-based proximity sensing. The term classical music may be too dismissive and exclusive, according to composers David Ludwig and Rina Esmail. Ludwig notes that the term refers to 1,000 years of music under one genre, including both Gregorian chant and works by living composers. However, the term excludes non-Western music traditions, such as Indian classical music. Apple created a separate app for Western classical music due to metadata issues, making it easier to search for specific pieces and composers. However, the lack of representation for other classical music traditions may prevent the app from reaching more diverse audiences. Ludwig and Esmail advocate for including more diverse styles of music in order to accurately showcase their cultural importance. The calm white surface of the Arctic Ocean hides a slimy green secret, an underwater forest of algae that forms the base of the Arctic food chain. Unfortunately, this ecosystem is now swamped with microplastics, and a new study has found the algae to be laced with an average of 31,000 plastic particles per cubic meter. These microplastics are likely to cause huge problems for the Arctic food chain and will impact the way the ocean captures carbon from the atmosphere. As company author Deani Allen notes, all the really small stuff ends up making the biggest impact on the ecosystem. It's a soapy, slimy, and sad reality check about the fragile beauty of our oceans. Vishal Misra, a Columbia University professor and co-founder of Cricinfo, combined his love for cricket and computer science by creating a search tool using GPT-3 that lets cricket fans make conversational queries. While Misra is excited about the newest release of GPT-4 from OpenAI, he acknowledges that it still falls short in some areas that humans excel at. Wired tested GPT-4 with a prompt to list 10 six-letter words with a K in the third letter, and while it got every answer correct, it often stumbled when asked follow-up questions. The labeling of algorithms as machine intelligence is under debate, and GPT-4 is considered a nascent example of artificial general intelligence because of its ability to perform well at standardized tests and a wide variety of tasks. However, it still lacks the inner desires and motives that humans have. Linktree, the link and bio platform that collected $110 million in a funding round just over a year ago, now faces stiff competition from Instagram's new 5-link bio update. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg happily announced the change, and social media consultants and instructors like Leah Haberman say Instagram's new feature was much needed. While some experts argue that Instagram's multiple links were inevitable, Greg Baroth, a digital marketing consultant from Los Angeles, tweeted, "Rip all the link and bio companies," after the announcement. While doctors and authors like Sandra Colton-Medici agree that Instagram's update adds friction to their audience's experience, it's unclear whether Linktree can recover from the competition. Remember back in 2016 when virtual reality was supposed to be the next big thing? Well, turns out it was too expensive and alienating for gamers to fully embrace. And now, with companies that invested heavily in VR starting to jump ship, investing in a new headset may not be the wisest choice. However, for those interested, VR can still be a cool way to experience certain games, art, and even sex tech, if that's your thing. The article goes on to provide a guide on the best headsets to try, including the Meta Quest Pro and PSVR 2. And the big question is whether you want tethered or wireless VR. Tethered offers better graphics but is cumbersome with cables, while wireless is more comfortable and portable. So choose wisely and happy VRing.